Hey everybody, welcome to everybody's favorite day of the week. I'm absolutely excited about the show we're going to have tonight. We're going to cover a lot of ground. We're going to have a good time. Listen, there's a lot going on in the world, and you know, when it's this day, I do it a little differently. I cover the topics and all of the things going on. I show you some of the best things that I've seen all week, and there are some wonderful things that I want to show you, things that are going to inspire you, make you smile, might even make you tear up a little, because that's part of my goal, is to get you all emotional, because, you know, being emotional makes you human. And, you know, we need more human beings in the world to act like human beings. And we're also going to do some Ask Dr. Sean, because you guys have sent me some great questions. A lot of ground to cover, people. Let's get started with some headlines. Let's start with Jussie Smollett. And so we all know that Jussie Smollett, at least as far as I'm concerned, falsely alleged that he was a victim of a hate crime. And that's how he got into all this mess, was ultimately ended with him being in jail, being arrested first, and then, of course, sentenced to jail. And we found out recently that the appeals court has decided to allow Jussie Smollett not to be in jail while he appeals the decision that was made to him in his original trial. Just for the record, because we got some ground to cover on this, let me just say it clearly and emphatically. I do not believe Jussie Smollett, okay? I do not believe that he is the victim of a hate crime. And let me also say that I do not have any evidence to support my belief, except common sense and the fact that what Jussie is saying just doesn't pass the smell test, okay? I just want to put that out there, because what I'm about to say may fly in the face of some of that. But I just want to be, I want to be on the record by saying I just don't believe it, okay? You can believe it if you want to. I'm fine with that. I'm not knocking you. That's why it's called a belief, right? What makes a belief different than a set of facts is that a fact can be verified. A belief is just something that you hold dear to yourself, something that you walk away thinking and understanding to be the most logical course of events, probably. That was an interesting sentence the way I put that together. The point is, I don't believe Jussie Smollett. I have no evidence to support my belief, but I don't believe Jussie Smollett. But having said that, I'm actually very glad that the Court of Appeals decided to let this man out of jail while he appeals his case. And here's why. I'm of the opinion that Jussie Smollett should have never been in jail to begin with. He should have never been in jail. What Jussie Smollett did, or what I'm alleging that he did, which is a lie, he only hurt himself. Jussie Smollett didn't hurt anybody else. Who else was hurt by this? The city of Chicago had to spend some money investigating it. Well, the city of Chicago owes black folks some money investigating some stuff with all the shenanigans going on in the police department in Chicago, okay? And I used to live there for a long time, so I know about the police in Chicago. My point is this: Jussie Smollett should have never been in jail. He should have never been sentenced to jail. He should have never gone not 1 minute into anybody's jail, because what he did only hurt him. In my opinion, the lie that he told only hurt Jussie Smollett. And the show that he was on that was doing well, his shenanigans ended that whole run. The only person who really got hurt by this was Jussie Smollett. And then we went, when I say we, I mean the criminal justice system decided that he wanted to put Jussie in jail. He should not be in jail, people. I don't believe that Jussie Smollett is a racial martyr, which is what he's trying to make himself out to be, and other people in his camp want to make him out to be. I'm sorry, Jussie, you're not a racial martyr, but you are the victim of disproportionate sentencing. There ain't no doubt about that, okay? You definitely are the victim of that, because you, Jussie Smollett, should not be in jail, okay? If we were putting people in jail for telling lies, the entire United States Congress, the House of Representatives, and the U.S. Senate would all be in jail, because they lie all the time. I'm just saying, Jussie Smollett should not be in jail, and I'm glad he's out, and he needs to stay out. I've never met Jussie Smollett. I don't know him. We've never encountered each other. But if he was here tonight, I would say to Smallett, I say, son, listen, contrition is good for the soul. Contrition is good for the soul. And what I mean by that is doubling down on a lie does not make it true. The only way to be truly free, and not just free from jail, but free from your past and free from what you've done, is to tell yourself the truth in the wee hours of the night when nobody's looking and you're the only one around. Because doubling down on a lie does not make it true. And I want Jussie to be liberated. I want him to be free, and I want him to go forward with his life and have the career and the life and the relationship and the love that he deserves. And it will never start with the court vindicating him. It will never start with the public believing him. It will only start when he tells himself the truth, whatever the truth is. That's what his soul is waiting to hear. And his soul will only believe it when it comes out of Jussie's mouth. But I'm just clear about this. Jussie Smollett should not be in jail. What y'all think about that? Let's move on to Russia, because you guys know I can't do a show these days without talking about Russia and the Ukraine. And I was thinking about Russia and Ukraine in a very particular way because, you know, this whole war that's going on is a very interesting paradigm. Here it is. One of the things that I've learned from this entire situation, in fact, one of the most important things that we can learn from this entire Ukrainian-Russian conflict is this. If you push people up against the wall, if you push people to their limits, sometimes people will rise to the occasion and they will meet your brutality with bravery and courage. And that's what we're seeing in the Ukraine. Because Vladimir Putin believed that if he pushed this country and pushed their backs up against the wall, that he would break their spirit and he would make them bend and he would make them bow and he would make them capitulate to the whims and wishes of his whimsical ways. But what he has discovered the hard way, and what everybody watching needs to understand, is that if you push a man up against the wall, if you push a woman up against the wall, invariably at some point, she will find the courage to lift her head back up. And he will find the courage to square his shoulders. Huh? And there's nothing more dangerous in the world than a man or a woman who has nothing to lose and has found their courage and believes in their own bravery. And Vladimir Putin is learning the hard way that you can only push people so far before they tell you that's enough. You can only push people so far before people tell you, you know what? Ain't gonna be no more pushing in here. Listen, I felt that when I said it. Sometimes you got to tell people, you done pushed me a little too far. And if you take another step in this direction, all of this is about to blow up. It's amazing, beloved. It's amazing. You know, human beings can be some of the worst creatures on the planet. Okay? I know you didn't see that coming, but it's true. Human beings can be some of the worst creatures on the planet. We can be petty, narcissistic, selfish, belligerent, malevolent. We can be full of mendacity, concupiscent, arrogant, egotistical, belligerent, mean, deceitful. We can be sinful. You know what I'm saying? We can just be downright dirty liars. Human beings can be awful. But the good news is that's not all we can be. And that list that I gave you is just one I came up with off the top of my head. There are plenty of worse things human beings could be, but the good news is that's not all we can be. Huh? We are both sound and silence. We are yes and no. We are light and darkness. We are good and evil. We are all that is good about life and love and the universe, and we are all that is problematic and complicated about the same thing. The good news is human beings can also be courageous and loving and kind and honest and brave and righteous and transcendent and virtuous and humble, and perhaps most of all, and what Putin is learning in the Ukraine, human beings can be strong. Come on here. Don't look at somebody and think you got their strength all figured out. Don't let the cheap shoes fool you. Don't let the cheap dress or the cheap tie or suit or the one-bedroom apartment or the hoopty or the bus that I take to work make you think that I'm not as strong as I know myself to be. Because inasmuch as human beings can be deplorable and messy and complicated, we can be transcendent and powerful and brave and courageous. And just because you know my story does not mean you know my strength. Ooh, Vladimir Putin is learning the hard way, people. He's learning the hard way. And do you know what this whole thing is about? Because this is for free, okay? Here's what nobody's saying. You haven't heard this anywhere other than on this show right now. I'm going to give you this, and you can take it and run with it. Give me credit the first few times you use it. Here's what Vladimir Putin is mad at the Ukrainian country, at the Ukrainians and their country for one reason. Here's the reason. He's mad at the Ukrainians because they won't be Russian. He's mad at that man right there, President Zelensky, because he won't be Russian. Did you hear what I just said? He is mad because how dare they decide to be Ukrainians within the borders of their own country on their own terms. And you got to watch people who are mad at you for not being what they want you to be. Yeah, people who only want you to be what they ascribe are dangerous, and they will attack you eventually. But Mr. Putin is finding out something very important, that some people you push and they break, and other people you push and they stand up for themselves. My only question tonight is, which one will you be? All right. Let me do one more before I take this break. Let's talk about women, because I don't mean that generally speaking. I mean it in this sense. The Institute for Women's Policy Research put out a report that said that women who work full-time jobs in this country get paid, check this out, 83 cents for every dollar a man makes. So for a woman working a full-time job year-round, will make 83 cents for every dollar that I make. And for black and brown women, it's even worse. I will never understand. That's why I wanted to do this story. I will never understand what is it about Western culture that makes it and allows it to hate women like this. What is it about Western culture and American sensibilities particularly that empowers us to hate women? Because you have to not like somebody to deliberately, blatantly pay them less for the same job. Don't tell me you love me and you ain't giving me the same thing you're giving everybody else. And my question is, what is it about Western culture that empowers us to hate women like this? To think of them as something lesser, something weaker. At least I believe, I am sophisticated enough to know that much of hatred and envy are actually rooted in notions of desire and notions of wanting to be like somebody. Here's what I mean. Most of the people who don't like you, they don't like you not because they hate you. They don't like you because they hate the fact that they want to be like you so much. And most contempt is actually rooted in envy. Most of the people who talk about you and spread lies about you and stab you in your back, they can't stand you because behind closed doors, they are comparing themselves to you. They would love to be with you, like you. They would love to have what you have, drive what you drive, love how you love, live where you live, wear what you wear. But because they're not willing to do the work to pull it off, it's so much easier for them not to like you. So rather than transform themselves, they come out hating you. Let's apply it to women. I'm wise enough now to know that in most cases, and a lot of men are not going to like what I'm about to say, but I don't give a damn. In most cases, a great man is really nothing more than an average woman. I wish I could take credit for that, Steve-O. He don't like that, but he'll get over it. Emerson said that. In most cases, a great man is really an average woman. If you think of all the things that women juggle, first of all, before you look at me with them eyes you just gave me, you push a 9-pound baby out the middle of your belly and see what happens. Out one of the holes in your body and see what happens. Look at it. I mean, come on. Yeah, think of all the things that a woman has to juggle and deal with and manage, including the ego and the mendacity and the histories of the men they're raising or trying to love. Listen, I think, and he's not going to agree with this, I think that in Western culture, most men are secretly envious of women. Not in the sense that we want to be women, because God knows I don't want to be one. Not pejoratively, I like being what I am. But The way a woman builds, the way she thinks, the way she moves, the way she creates, the way she loves, the way she nurtures, the way she can see colors, the way she can find patterns, the way she can organize, the way she can put it all together. Most men are secretly envious of that. Most men are secretly envious of the fact that a woman has a kind of, if you put an intuitive woman next to an insecure man, he will end up with rage and anger and resentment and envy because she has something that he does not have access to. Anyway, let me end by saying this. I'll prove my point. I'll prove my point to him, this one over here. If you told most men in this country that biologically all of us started out as women, they wouldn't believe it. I'm just trying to tell you. Because listen, the reality is biologically in the womb, in the egg, we all started out as women. We needed that extra chromosome to come from our dad. And most men don't realize that we have two chromosomes. We have an X and a Y. Women have two X's, we have an X and a Y. And the only reason we are not women is because we got that Y chromosome from our dad. But in the womb, we were the egg. And all the egg had was an X. See, most men hearing that now are mad and upset. They pissed off that I said that. Let me end with this. Instead of hating women, why don't we do our level best to understand their greatness and not be insecure about what they're able to do and create? And maybe then, in this country, a woman can get equal pay for equal work. Let's take a break. We're right back with more headlines. Ask Dr. Shaughnessy later, right after this. Welcome back, everybody. Let's talk about Virginia Thomas. Virginia Thomas is the wife of Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. And recently, she revealed in an interview that she attended the rally on January 6th at the White House, which preceded the insurrection that would take place down the street at the Capitol. So the wife of a sitting Supreme Court justice attended the rally that led to an insurrection at the Capitol on January 6th. Perhaps I should say it again. The wife of a sitting Supreme Court justice that led to the insurrection on January 6th. Virginia Thomas claims, allegedly, that she played no part in the planning of the events that day that led to the insurrection. And if you believe that, I got a bridge in Brooklyn that I'm willing to sell you for a nice little discount price. And she also alleges that she did not have any conversation or any collusion with her husband about her attendance or anything related to the rally or the insurrection later that day. And if you believe that, I got a bridge that connects Long Beach to Anaheim that I'd like to sell you, and there is no bridge that connects Long Beach to Anaheim because you don't need a bridge to get there, but I'll sell it to you anyhow. I know couples that have deep conversations laying in the bed about Netflix. And you mean to tell me that a Supreme Court justice and his wife never had a conversation about the insurrection, the rally, and what happened that day, or why she was even there? They've never had that conversation? She expects us to believe that? Do you believe that? Because I'm really hoping that you're smart enough to know that Virginia Thomas is probably not telling us the truth. But here's why I wanted to do this story, because somebody needs to explain to me, if your wife goes to the rally at the White House on the ellipse on the day of the insurrection, then how is it that you, Clarence Thomas, as a Supreme Court justice, are able to adjudicate and to provide legal guidance, recommendation, and matter of law on anything related to Donald Trump or the insurrection that day? Somebody explain to me why Clarence Thomas isn't recusing himself, since his wife attended the rally that led to the insurrection. You can't make this stuff up, people. This is why I love Republicans and I love conservatives, because they're so ridiculous that at a certain point it just becomes humorous. It becomes ridiculous. It becomes, I don't know, fodder, intellectual fodder, moral, I don't know. Clarence Thomas should not be adjudicating anything related to Donald Trump and anything related to the insurrection. He just shouldn't do it. And let me just say this clearly, and listen, I'm willing to take whatever hits that come along with this. If there has ever been a disgrace to the heritage and greatness of black people in this country, it is Clarence Thomas, who it pains me every time I see him sitting on the court, knowing that he is sitting in the seat of Thurgood Marshall, while he is married to a woman who would attend a rally about a lie concerning the last election. So let's try it again. If your wife attends a rally that leads to an insurrection, is that not a conflict of interest? I don't know. Maybe not in Iowa. Maybe not in, some part of Billings, Montana. But in Harlem, that's a conflict of interest. All right, let's move on. Let's talk about high prices, all right? Because all over the world, everybody, all over the country, rather, people are talking about high price. And I know you've noticed that everything is high. Gas is high, food, cars, rent, clothes, you name it, prices are exceedingly high, okay? You can't even get an apple at the same price you used to get it, okay? And there are many reasons why inflation, many definitions for inflation. And just to be clear, I am not an economist. I have no economics degree, okay? My son has the economics degree. He's the banker in the family. But here is Sean McMillan's working definition of inflation. You ready? When you pay more for less, or when you pay more for the same thing, that's inflation. You're welcome. You got that, Steve? That's inflation. Now, if I was an economics guy, economics professor, I might have a more elaborate definition, but just in Brooklyn, if you go on Fulton Avenue, inflation on Fulton Avenue is very simple. If you're paying more for less or more for the same thing, you're dealing with inflation. And I know the reasons for inflation. One of the reasons happens to be when there's too much money in the economy, economic production can't keep up with the money supply. So you have too much money in the economy, and so now people can raise prices because there's a lot of money in the economy, there's a lot of money to get grabbed. Or inflation can happen when there's a war in Eastern Europe and there's a threat to the supply chain. And so now products are harder to get, and because things are harder to get, you raise the price. That's how inflation works. I get it. Again, I'm no economist. I do not have an economics degree, okay? My son has the economics degree from Morehouse College and from that other place up in Cambridge, Massachusetts, okay? I'm not the economist. I'm a moral philosopher. And that's what I do. I'm a moral philosopher. And here's what I know about the experience of paying more for less or paying more for the same thing, okay? Okay, I'm not going to do economics with you. I'm a moral philosopher. And here's what I know about inflation. I know that black people in this country, black and brown people and poor people in this country live in a state of perpetual inflation. If inflation, at least in Harlem, is paying more for less or paying more for the same thing, then black and brown people live in perpetual inflation because we are constantly having to pay more to get the same things that other people get easily and far cheaper. Huh? You know I'm telling you the truth. You don't like paying a lot for gas in Iowa? You don't like paying a lot for gas in, Kansas? You don't like paying a lot for gas in Orange County? Well, people in Brooklyn and in Harlem and in Atlanta and in D.C. and in Compton, they don't like paying more emotionally and psychologically to get a police officer arrested for shooting an innocent person. But it seems like whenever that happens, we have to pay more than other communities have to pay emotionally, psychologically, politically, culturally to get the same thing. Inflation. Everything's high. Everything's high in America. But I happen to believe that freedom, justice, and equality shouldn't cost this much. We shouldn't have to pay so much to get what other people seem to get without having to do much to get it. So don't come to me about inflation, how much you don't like the prices, because I can talk to you about some prices of some other things that I don't like how much they cost. Like Breonna Taylor's killers still not being arrested. You don't like the gas. And I don't like murderers going free. All right, let's talk about TikTok before I run out of time. Because you guys know I can't resist a Donald Trump or a TikTok story. I can't resist it. Every time I see something about TikTok, I'm running to it. And this is all from my main man, Devon King, because he tried to get me to go on TikTok, and I'm never speaking to him again. I'm just kidding. He's my guy. He's my nephew. I love him a lot. All right. So anyway, I heard this week that the White House connected with social media influencers on TikTok to give them real updates on what's going on in the Ukraine, because apparently there's a lot of misinformation out there. And but also apparently the White House brought in all of the TikTok people. I don't know, what do they call influencers? TikTok influencers, because, okay, wait for it, a lot of you are still getting your news from TikTok. There are millions of people who are getting their news about this war from TikTok. You people still haven't learned, have you? You didn't learn with Facebook, right? Oh no, because your parents were on Facebook and they just dumb. He's like, no, we don't get our news from Facebook. Facebook's a cesspool. We get our news from TikTok. And so the White House had to bring in all these social influencers to give them right, credible, warranted, justified information so that they would stop misleading people. Because a lot of the videos that you've been seeing on TikTok about this war in Ukraine are not from the war in the Ukraine, they're from the war in Crimea, which happened years ago. And so the White House decided that if you guys on TikTok are going to spread information, at least, you know, have it have some basis in reality. And the thing that amazes me about this story is I'm trying to understand, why would you want to get your news about the world from people you're not sure even graduated from high school? Do you know anything about these people? What are their qualifications, their credentials to tell you anything? It's just some person sitting in front of a screen, okay? And you willing to get your news from somebody who you're not entirely sure actually graduated from high school. You can say a lot about CNN and MSNBC and even old deplorable Fox News. You can say a lot about these major media outlets, but at least they have people in the Ukraine. You follow what I'm saying? The person you getting your news from on TikTok is sitting in front of a green screen in the basement. They've never been to the Ukraine, and they might not have a passport. Oh, Lord Jesus. There are millions of people. This is what gets me, Steve-O. There are millions of people who are totally fine with listening to other people who might not know what they're talking about. And don't get mad at me, because I'm about to pull the rug on you. You ready for this? These are the same people who in 2020, they were political science and political experts, who in 2021, they were medical doctors and immunologists and experts on vaccines rather. And now in 2022, they are geopolitical foreign policy experts. Huh? Because these are the same people, you got all your political information, don't vote for this person and Biden, and then you got all your vaccine information from them, and now you're getting your war correspondence from them. The problem is not them. The problem is all of you 18-year-olds who get your news from TikTok. You get your news from TikTok? He said no. Thank you, Jesus. Sometimes you just got to thank Jesus when just great things come up. Anyway, people, read a book, okay? And stop trying to get your views from the world from people who don't know what country the Congo, or what continent rather the Congo is located in, okay? And if you don't know, during this break, Google it. We'll be right back with some of the best things that I've seen all week. And I got another great story for you. It's a headline. I got one more headline, some great things that I've seen all week. Time is flying by, man. We'll be right back. Welcome back, everybody. So, did you all hear that the United States Senate voted unanimously to make daylight savings time permanent? No, I need like an audience in here, because we should be clapping. Daylight saving time, they voted unanimously to make it permanent. And remember, I was the first one to bring y'all this story. Okay, I wasn't the first one, that's a lie. but I emphasized it a lot. Remember, I think it was last Friday or something. I did a big thing on this because I just believe that having more sunlight is a good thing, all right? But here's the thing. 100 United States senators unanimously voted for the same thing. That might be the real story. The real story may not be me in love with sunlight and me in love with the fact that it don't get dark until, 7:30. The real story here may be that Mitch McConnell and Sean McMillan agree on something. Okay, I'm not a senator, so the real story may be that Bernie Sanders and Mitch McConnell agree on something. Can you believe this? They voted 100-0 to make this thing real. Ted Cruz and Elizabeth Warren agree. This is amazing. It's amazing because it shows that even if politicians cannot agree on policy, they can at least every now and then agree on common sense. Because if you don't like more sunlight, there's something wrong with you, okay? If you don't want more sunlight, either you are a vampire or you live in a really hot place. Yeah, sunlight is a wonderful thing. And as dark as the world is, and as foreboding as these times can be, and as much as we spend our times huddling in the bruising shadows, trying to redeem whatever little parts of our humanity we can piece together, the fact that we can have more daylight is a wonderful thing. I ain't trying to get all biblical on you, but you do know one of the first things that the Bible says God ever said was, let there be light. Because light is good for the soul. Sunlight is just good for you. You know what I'm saying? Let there be light, people. In the words of the Wiz, let the sun shine in. And I wish that for you. I wish that for you, not just as a matter of me making, silly talk and having a good time about it, but we need more light and we need more joy and we need more reasons to celebrate. We need more things that make us feel better. We need more pleasure. We need more things that make us lift our eyes and remember that life is worth the trouble sometimes it takes to complete it. And so yeah, I'm all for more sunlight. And I'm all for United States senators all voting together on something. Because like I said, if they can't agree on policy, then at least they ought to agree on some common sense. All right, this is the part that I love. Let's do what I call showing you some of the best things that I've seen all week. All right, I'm all for inspiration. I think it's important to have it. I think that human beings need it. And my first two little stories are going to just make you just want to be all inspired and feel good inside, all right? You talk about let the sun shine in. Look at this video.
Because I saw on TikTok that the first time a black man gets flowers in his life is at his funeral. And that really bothered me. So, and I was thinking about all the black men that I know and that I've known. And I couldn't think of anyone that had flowers outside of their funeral.
I ain't never got no flowers before in my life.
So I want to make sure you get some flowers. That's yours. That's for you.
That's so sweet.
Yeah.
Look at my mama.
See, didn't that just warm your little heart? Doesn't it make you just want to rush out and buy some young man or some man in your life some flowers? Because apparently, I don't know if this is true, black men tend not to get flowers except at our funerals. I'm trying to think if I've ever received flowers. I don't know. Have you received flowers? Well, Steve he's never gotten any flowers. He's a brown brother. So I love that video. And I love the video because I think we ought to normalize some things. And one of the things we ought to normalize is just celebrating people and loving them and being good to them. So listen, I love that. That made me feel good. I want to do this story before I have to take this break. So check this out. Jessica Martin, who was a teacher at the Westside Elementary School in Halesburg, California, put together a project where you can call in and hear inspirational messages and get advice from kindergartners. You can call a call-free hotline, and kindergartners will do the voicemail. They will come on and give you advice and give you inspiration. And guess what? People call this number 9,000 people call this number around the clock, 24 hours a day, every day of the week. they cannot keep the phones from not ringing. That's how many people are calling. And it just goes to show you how much people need inspiration and how much people want advice. So much so that they're willing to take it from a child. They're willing to let a kindergartner give them advice and inspire them. And I'm not poo-pooing on the kindergartners giving advice and inspiring people, although I think these kids might be coming from my job. So I don't know about how I feel about that. But I'm just saying, it just goes to show how desperate people are to hear something that's going to inspire them and make them feel better. So much so that they will take it from a kid. The mind of a child is a powerful and honest thing. The mind of a child is so direct and uncomplicated that it might not be a bad idea to every now and then ask your kids what they think about what it is you're trying to do. Get your inspiration, people. Get it from anywhere you can and from anybody who's willing to give it to you. Don't be stingy and sedity when it comes to inspiration. Let people pour into you, because the scriptures say, my cup runneth over. What's in the cup is for you, and what pours out of the cup is for everybody else. All right, real quick before I take this break. All right, James Anderson is one of my favorite people on the planet right now. Real quick, James Anderson was a plumber for a long time. He had a private business. But in 2017, that man right there left his private business so that he could start a nonprofit that allows elderly people and sick people to have free services when it comes to plumbing. He has dedicated his life to making sure that people do not have to pay. I suppose that's a bill that hopefully says nothing. Thank you. Keep him on the screen. That people don't have to pay anything for their services. And it started out with a woman who had leukemia, and he realized that she couldn't pay and that she was sick, and he dedicated his life to this. Check this out. This man right now is $10,000 in debt for doing this. So it's not like he's doing this and getting paid for it. No, he's $10,000 in debt for doing it, but he's committed to doing it anyway. He believes in it, and he keeps right on doing it. James Anderson is one of my favorite people on the planet. When I come back, I'm going to tell you about another favorite person, Carrie Judge. Listen, I ain't done yet. We'll be more. We'll be back, rather. We'll be more. What am I saying? Go to break. I still can't get over the fact that people are getting their news from TikTok. I have not recovered from that headline. What if you get your news from TikTok, you need Jesus. You need to pray and fast and speak in tongues. All right, let me give you more of my favorite things. Play the bumper. Okay. I caught him off guard. I love when I do that. All right, so I just told you about James Anderson as one of my favorite people this week. I have two more favorite people that I need to share with you. The first one, his name is Carrie Judd, and Carrie Judd is a 70-year-old man. That's him right there. Who in his 70s still has to hustle and work to make his ends meet. And one day, Mr. Judd was working as a DoorDash delivery person, because that's what he has to do to sort of pay his bills and all that. And he encountered the home of a 21-year-old Annabelle Gray Stevens, who captured the footage of him working, and she posted the video of him working in his 70s on, wait for it, TikTok. And the video went viral. And I suppose it went viral because people couldn't believe that a 70-year-old man was still having to work, and be a DoorDash. Because when you think of DoorDash and Grubhub and all you think young people. But he's 70 years old, still having to do it to pay his bills. And apparently, people younger people like you over there, just can't imagine having to work in your 70s, I'm telling you, there's some days where I sit around and think to myself, Lord, if you don't really bless me, I'm going to be working till I'm about 85. This story touches my soul, okay? I'm trying not to cry because I don't want to be 70 and working. But in America, you never know. And so apparently, our dear brother, Mr. Judd, he lost his wife 10 years ago. And he works these extra jobs as DoorDash delivery, and he does security as well to help support his two sons. And when I heard this part of the story, I thought to myself, okay, these two sons better either be mentally impaired or physically impaired, because I'm trying to figure out How is it that the 70-year-old dad is supporting the two sons? But that's none of my business, okay? I know when things are not my business, and that whole family situation is not my business. But I'm just saying, okay? Let me just make it my business for a second. Y'all just pray for me. If I'm 70 years old, I got two sons. If I'm 70 years old, and I am going to work as a DoorDash driver and a security guard to support my two sons, somebody better have something, like a disease or something. Something better be wrong. Anyway, it's none of my business. Let me come up out of this man's business and get back to being a talk show host. And here it is. After Miss Stevens put this video on TikTok, and she went so far as to, the video went viral, she went so far as to do a GoFundMe account, she has raised over $100,000. That's why I'm doing the story. She's raised $100,000 to help this blessed brother, Mr. Judd, not have to be a DoorDash delivery driver at 70 years old or have to do security. And that's the two of them right there. That's Mr. Judd, and that is, of course, Miss Stevens. The two of them connected, not by blood, connected not by, politics, but connected through compassion. One human being seeing another human being and wondering what she could do to help him. And perhaps that's good advice for all of us, right? When you see somebody who you know is just out of place, who you know you really shouldn't have to be doing this, that this is not something you should be doing at this stage of your life, maybe it's good to step up and see how you can help. Because you'd be surprised how people are suffering behind closed doors and you don't even know it. You know what I'm saying? How people need genuine help and they either don't know how to ask for it or they don't realize that there's somebody out there willing to help. So shout out to Miss Stevens and shout out to Carrie Judd. Both of them hopefully going forward for better days. Yeah, and for all of us, who are working hard every day and trying to pay the bills, let this story inspire you, okay? Because just when you think that you ain't got nobody who sees what you're going through, you never know. Somebody might pop up and hand you something that'll change your whole life. Do I have time for Ask Dr. Sean? No, you know what? Let's take a break. We're going to take a break, and then we'll do some Ask Dr. Sean right after this. But I like that story, and I like people who like to help people. Those are my kind of people. Let's take a break, people. Just for the record, this one over here and the other one over there in the control room, because I heard you say it too highly. Both of them said if they had to work in their 70s, they would rob a bank. Is this true? Listen, don't rob banks, people, okay? That's how you end up in one of my headlines. Let's do some Ask Dr. Sean. Play the bumper. So you guys always send me great videos, and I'm always appreciative of what you have sent to me because I take it seriously and I try to treat it with kindness. So let's watch a video right now.
Hi, Dr. Sean. My name is Elkie, and I have a question for you. I'm wondering, how do I approach a friend and to let her know how I feel about every time I'm inviting her somewhere, she has excuses. So how do I approach her with that? Can you let me know that, please? Thank you.
Great question. So let me begin at the beginning and then we'll get to the point that you want me to get to. Okay? So, okay. I know this is your friend, but what I want you to sit with for a second is, why do you keep inviting someone who never shows up? Come on, receive that. Why do you keep inviting someone who keeps not showing up? Isn't the behavior sufficient for you to curtail, to end, to deny any further invitations? What is it about you that's allowing you to think that after someone does something over and 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 over again, that they don't really mean it? Okay? So we'll get to how you have this conversation, because that's your question. I promise to answer it. But what I need you to sit in the spirit and in the knowledge and in the revelation of the consciousness of asking yourself, why do you keep insisting that they show up when they're telling you and showing you that they're not interested in doing it? And there may be legitimate reasons for why they're not showing up, which brings me to answering your question. Before you assume that you understand why they're not showing up. I think you have a conversation that's rooted in curiosity than condemnation. First, I think you need to hear, what is it? When I ask you to show up somewhere and you're not able to come, what happens, right? Is it an emotional block? Is the invitation triggering you? Is something in your past? Is our friendship not at that level? What is it? And whatever you have to say to me, whatever the truth is, I can live with that. I just want to know what it is, because I want to understand why it is you're expressing and manifesting yourself in that way. And here's the hard part. Whatever their reasons are, those reasons need to be enough for you. Because whatever their reasons are, you can't change them. And whatever those reasons are, those reasons are producing the behavior that you're asking me about. So I'm saying to you on two levels. First, stop giving invitations to people who show you in no uncertain terms that they don't want to show up. But two, when you want to have the conversation, because this is your friend, that you have a conversation that's rooted in honesty and curiosity and not condemnation, because you may not know what's going on. There may be things at work behind the scenes that prevent them from being able to show up. For example, there was a time in my life when I was so broke. Let me tell you something, Steve. I was so broke that if I had a nickel, no, this is better. I was so broke, I knew how much the French fries cost in McDonald's, and I would have exact change. Like the small fry was like 67 cents. And that was my meal for the day. You feel me? And when people would invite me places, right, I couldn't go. Not because I didn't want to go, because I didn't have the money to go. I couldn't afford to go. And so I would avoid those conversations and avoid those invitations. Of course, I would never show up. Well, because I didn't like them, I didn't care about them. I couldn't afford to be there. I can't go to brunch with you. I can't go to the movies. I'm trying to get 67 cents to get a small fry. So my point is, make sure you figure out through curiosity what the story is. And whatever they give you, receive it in love. Because their reasons are their reasons. And you don't want people to feel like they have to be somewhere that they either don't want to be or can't be consistently. Anyway, I got time for one more. Someone DM'd me this question. I noticed that my coworker does not wash their hands after using the restroom. I'm shocked that an adult should have to be told to wash their hands after using the bathroom. Should I confront her about her nasty ways or just mind my own business? What an interesting question. I'm going to give you an interesting answer. You ready? Mind your own business. Except I'm going to say, mind your own damn business. Okay? Stop worrying about what somebody else is doing with their hands and what's not why. Listen, I mean, is it hygienic? No. Is it decent and in order? No. Should they wash their hands? Yes. But maybe you should ask yourself why you don't have better things to think about other than whether or not your coworkers are washing their hands. Okay? I need you to have something better going on in your life. And if they hand you something, just hand sanitize it, keep it moving. And here's the other thing. You never know what people are dealing with that makes not washing their hands not the most important thing in the world to them. I'll tell you a story. I was on a plane once with both my sons, and my youngest son, they were sitting on both sides. My youngest son was sitting next to the aisle, and across the aisle was a father and his son. And the boy was acting up and crying and screaming. The people on the plane was getting upset with him because he was just loud. And the father couldn't control the kid. And my son Caleb, who kids love Caleb. Caleb was the sweetest pie. Caleb started playing with the kid, and the kid started calming down. When we were about to get off the plane, the father, could tell that we were a family. And he said to me as he's collecting his sons, I really want to thank you and your son for that. I just didn't know what to do. I said, I saw that. I'm glad that, Caleb, could relate to your son. He said, no, you don't understand. My son's mother died 3 days ago. He told me that the little boy who was acting a fool on the plane, his mom had died 3 days ago. And the boy's been out of control ever since. And the only time that the boy has ever really calmed down was when he was playing with my son on the plane. You never know what people are going through. You never know why not washing their hands isn't the most important thing for them right now. There could be losses and devastations and deaths going on in their lives. And maybe instead of you talking about them and judging them, why don't you pray for them? Why don't you speak positive about them? Why don't you encourage them? Why don't you talk to them? And not about washing their hands. Why don't you ask them, how are you? What's going on with you? Is it well with you? Is it well with your house? Is it well with your family? Is it well with your mother, your father, your children, your brothers, and your sisters? Are you okay? You follow what I'm saying? Because we get so caught up in behavior and we forget that behavior is symptomatic of something far more deeper going on at the lower frequency. If I correct your behavior, but I don't heal your hurt, I've not served you. And so if I'm in the bathroom with somebody and they don't wash their hands, not something I wouldn't do, but it's also not something that I ultimately care about, and it doesn't define my relationship with them or their humanity. I need you to have something better to think about than what people doing with their hands. What you doing with your hands? Just because your hands is clean doesn't mean that your hands are clean, because you do know that you can be not guilty and still not be innocent. Teach, Dr. Sean. Thank you for watching tonight. Y'all be good to each other. I love you.